The Nocturne ambassador's bioluminescent skin pulsed with confidence as he dimmed the conference room lights. "Perhaps we should reschedule when your son returns," he suggested, his voice dripping with false concern. "We know how humans depend on their light." His species had evolved in the eternal darkness of their tidally locked world. The darkness was their domain. Colonel Jack Riley didn't even look up from his tactical pad. "No need. Continue with the negotiations." The lights dimmed further until only the Nocturne's natural glow remained, casting eerie shadows that writhed like living things. The other human delegates shifted uncomfortably, but Riley remained still as stone. "You see," Ambassador Zelthax continued, his 4 eyes gleaming in the darkness, "this is why the mining rights to the Kepler void should belong to us. Your species can barely function without your precious stars and artificial lights. The darkness terrifies you, makes you vulnerable. You huddle around your fires like primitives afraid of the night." Riley smiled, an expression the Nocturne couldn't see in the darkness. "They had no idea. Humans fear the dark," Zelthax stated as fact. "It's in your evolution, your psychology. You're diurnal creatures, helpless when your sun sets. We've studied your history. Monsters in the darkness, fear of the unknown, night lights for your children." "We do tell our children about monsters in the dark," Riley agreed calmly. "Exactly. You admit. We tell them stories," Riley continued, "to prepare them, because humans don't fear the dark, Ambassador. We fear what we might do in it." The room fell silent except for the faint hum of life support systems. "Empty bravado," another Nocturne delegate scoffed. "Your soldiers wear lights on their weapons. Your ships blaze with illumination. You need light like you need air." "We use lights," Riley stood slowly, "so others can see us coming. It's a courtesy. A warning." "A warning?" Zelthax's glow flickered with amusement. "Of what? That you'll stumble in the darkness?" Riley pressed a button on his pad. The emergency lights flashed once, then died. The room plunged into absolute darkness. Even the Nocturne's bioluminescence seemed to dim in the oppressive black. "A warning that we're choosing to play fair," Riley's voice came from somewhere else entirely. The Nocturne spun, their echolocation pinging frantically. He wasn't where he'd been standing. "How did you?" Zelthax started. "Humans evolved on a world where darkness meant death," Riley's voice echoed from another direction. "Predators, exposure, getting lost. But we didn't evolve to fear it. We evolved to master it." One of the Nocturne delegates yelped. Something had brushed past him in the darkness, something he hadn't heard or sensed coming. "Your species evolved in constant darkness," Riley continued, his voice now coming from above somehow. "You had no predators, no competition. You never needed to hide, to hunt, to survive in darkness while being hunted by things that could see in it. Parlor tricks." Zelthax snarled, his glow intensifying. "Humans need technology to see in darkness. Night vision, thermal imaging. Technology helps," Riley agreed from directly behind the ambassador. Zelthax spun, echolocation screaming, but found empty air. "But humans were hunting in darkness long before we had tools. We learned to use other senses: hearing, smell, air pressure, vibration. We learned patience." The darkness pressed in, heavy and alive. The Nocturne found themselves clustering together, their bioluminescence creating a beacon that only emphasized the void around them. "You evolved to live in darkness," another human voice said, Dr. Sarachin, who'd been silent during negotiations. "We evolved to weaponize it." "Weaponize?" A Nocturne delegate's voice cracked. "Every human military trains in total darkness," Chin explained from somewhere in the black. "We learn to move silently, strike precisely, navigate by touch and memory. Your species sees darkness as home. We see it as a tactical advantage." "You're trying to frighten us," Zelthax accused, but his glow was flickering rapidly, the Nocturne equivalent of nervousness. "No," Riley's voice came from inches away from the ambassador's ear. "We're educating you." The lights blazed back to life. The humans sat exactly where they'd been at the start, Riley in his chair, Chin with her hands folded, the rest of the delegation calm and unmoved. Only their slightly dilated pupils suggested they'd been in darkness at all. The Nocturne delegates were scattered around the room, some pressed against walls, others crouched defensively. Zelthax stood in the center, all 4 eyes wide. "Impossible," he breathed. "We didn't hear you move. Didn't sense you, Because humans learn to hide from things much worse than darkness," Riley said simply. "We learned to become the darkness." "But your fear," another delegate protested weakly. "We do fear the dark," Chin admitted. Not because we're helpless in it, but because we know what we become in it. Civilization, morality, rules, they're all easier in the light. In darkness, we revert to something older. Something that survived by being worse than whatever hunted us. Riley pulled up historical footage on the conference room screen. World War II Pacific Theater. Japanese night attacks were devastating until they learned that Americans were better at it. Vietnam, the Viet Cong owned the night until they met Force Recon Marines who lived in it. Every conflict where someone thought darkness was their advantage, they learned otherwise. You speak of ancient history, Zelthax said, trying to regain composure. Last year, Riley countered. Pirates took the Ganymede mining station, cutting all power. They had full night vision, knew the terrain, had hostages. The rescue team went in with no lights, no night vision, nothing but training and intent. 27 pirates, 0 casualties on our side. The hostages said they never saw their rescuers. Just heard whispers in the dark and the sound of bodies dropping. The Nocturne had gone very still. Your species evolved in darkness, Chun said gently. You're comfortable in it, adapted to it. But humans? We evolved despite it. We learned to turn our disadvantage into a weapon. You live in the dark. We hunt in it. The Kepler void mining rights, Zelthax said slowly, perhaps joint operations would be mutually beneficial. Riley smiled. Now you're learning. The darkness isn't anyone's domain, it's a tool. And humans have been sharpening that tool for 1,000,000 years. The negotiations continued in full light, but something had fundamentally changed. The Nocturne no longer dimmed the lights as a power play. They'd learned something crucial. Humans might need light to see, but they didn't need it to hunt. And in the absolute darkness of the Kepler void, they'd rather have humans as allies than enemies. Because the monsters human children feared in the darkness? They were warnings. Warnings about what humans could become when the lights went out.